All right, welcome to our December customer training session. The topic today is refocus on the fundamentals. Things have been pretty wild the past couple of years, and a common theme that you hear across the industry is like all that stuff we got away with the past couple of years. Well, we should probably go back to doing the way things were and improve upon them as best we can. Today, you've got me, Matthew Davis, Chief Marketing Officer here at TradePending. There's my contact information that's at the end as well, too. As you would expect, we're recording this. We will share it out afterwards. If you have questions, use the Zoom Q&A button thing there. That'll make it really easy. If you don't have questions, that's fine, too. We like to mention this. If you're not following us on social media, you're missing out because we just gave away a whole bunch of calendars, free calendars. We've given away chainsaws, and we actually share interesting things that are usually worth reading. So please follow us on social. It's a great spot to hear about all things trade pending and our view on automotive there. All right, so today we're going to talk through vehicle values. Always a hot topic, even hotter the past few months. Things have been a little bit bonkers. We're going to address that to some degree here. And then if we're going to refocus on the fundamentals, we're just going to jump back into some topics we just love to hit on over and over again because they're worth hitting on over and over again. And that's lead generation. And then once you have the leads, what's some great approaches to following up with them? And I don't know if you knew this, but if you've got a digital retailing tool, chat tool, finance tool on your website, one of those digital retailing things, you can have trade pending values inside of those. We partner with almost all the major providers. There's a couple that we don't. If you want your trade pending values on your trade pending plugin on your site to match what's happening in the chat, email me, Matthew at TradePending. We'll get you pointed in the right direction. All right, so vehicle values, what the heck is going on? All right, so not looking at the entire market here, but looking at the top 100 listed vehicles that we see on franchise dealer websites. No surprise here. And it's been a big drop this year, 12.5%. You can see that drop's getting a little bit faster towards the tail end of the year here. And this is not uniform across makes and models. It's not uniform across regions and markets across the country, right? Some vehicles are holding their values better than others. Some are depreciating faster than others. So what does that mean in terms of trade pending and how we think about values and the values that your consumers are seeing and your website visitors are seeing when they come to your car? So it's important to remember overall, our valuation methodology is a retail down approach. I mean, like we look at the retail prices in your local market and we're looking at them every single day. We do not use books. There's no books involved here. We're not looking at wholesale. We are just looking at franchise dealer websites. We are not looking at third-party sites. We're just looking at your peers in the automotive space. And it's important to know that we're looking for a small as radius as we can around your dealership there. And so we have to expand it until we find enough comparables here so that we can give, as best we can, the best reflection of what's happening with the vehicles in your market here. And so what we're seeing is that those vehicles that have been listed on dealers' websites for months that haven't sold, most likely those vehicles were acquired at higher prices or prices that made sense at that time, and now they're being held on to, and they're somewhat inflating values across the entire industry, right? So when you look back at comparables, things that were listed a while ago that still haven't sold, they're inflating. And so things that we're doing here that we'll share here and the things that you can help take control over yourself too. So something that we've had for quite some time is evaluation committees so that we look at these trends and we spot these and we can influence it. So when you're looking at this chart here, which you consumers see as well too, the dots on this map represent things that are currently for sale and that have sold recently. So we can fine tune these to say, hey, we need to give less weight to the things that are still listed, have been listed for months and months because you've seen how quickly that depreciation line is dropping there. So we're able to account for that and factor that in. From your side, you have the ability to take control as well. And the way that you do that is working through your customer success manager and our support team here. Usually what we advise first is run some comparables and then look at the reconditioning cost there. Even within that line item, you see there's a lot of different things that you can change. You have a lot of flexibility there to configure the types of reconditioning numbers that will return based upon that type of vehicle. So it allows you to adjust those values that you're giving without essentially having to change the market, if you will. This other little line down here that says use caution, right? So when you look at that gray band that's going across the screen, that's your upper end and your lower end of the trade-in range there. So through your customer success manager or the support team, you can raise that, you can lower that range, right? And you have to be really careful here, because if you're saying like, oh my gosh, things are bonkers right now, let's jack it up 15% here and 20% down here, and now we got this range. Well, that may work on a $10,000 car. That is totally going to screw things up on a $50, $60, $70,000 car. You have to be really, really careful about that. You also don't want to try to adjust ranges here based upon more unique vehicles in the market, right? Those are always going to throw back strange values, no matter what tool you're using or what product you have or any time of year there. So if we sum that up, like, you do have some control. We are taking steps on our side too to help, like, say, hey, the market is crazy. We're taking proactive steps to reach out to your customer success manager. That's a mouthful sometimes. If you don't know who that is, email me. I will point you in the right direction. You can always email support. And we've got a link here to our knowledge base article, which will give you some more information on that as well too. All right. We talk about lead generation routinely throughout the year because it's kind of the business that we're in for the most part. And there's a ton of best practices. We have guest speakers on, and so we're collating all that and saying, all right, here, what do we have for you here today? And it always starts with the fundamentals of just making sure that your placements are solid, right? Homepage, SRP, VDP, and the nav bar. Sometimes we get requests to remove it from a certain spot. Sometimes there's absolutely valid reasons for that. But when you look at your data, and ideally the support team or your account manager is going to help you look at this first before you cut one of those placements, you have to understand that you're probably going to be cutting anywhere from 20 to 30% of your lead volume if you do that. You also get better results if you have these above the fold, and if they're really prominent there. All right, so you've got placements. Now you need to be driving traffic. You can't just rely upon the visitors coming to your website, right? So the simplest approach that we've seen, absolute phenomenal success year over year from a lot of our customers, are just really straightforward email campaigns, right? We think about segmenting them based upon when people purchased, when they last visited the dealership, but you do have to make sure that your sales team is aware. And that just means not just awareness, but like, hey, what are we going to say when people email in? Do we have canned templates ready to go in the CRM? Say, hey, thanks for submitting your trade in. Good news is we have a lot of this stuff already in our knowledge base. I'll show you some links here in a little bit. But when you send these emails out, depending upon the size of your database, you are going to get a lot of leads. You're going to get them pretty quickly here. And I'll show you an example of that here. The great example here, it's plain text, right? We just kind of preach this over and over again. When it looks like it's coming from a person, it is from a person, it's plain text. These just get a ton of volume. They get a ton of traffic. And guess which day we sent the email on, right? So you get this 13th, you get this big influx of submissions there. That's what we mean, have the team ready, like communicate so people know what's going on. And then you'll get some trailing effects here too. For the 14th and 15th, you can see they're still getting more leads coming in from a result of that campaign. Email campaigns, if you're not doing it, do it. We can help. It's also really straightforward and easy to drive traffic to your landing pages, your value your trade landing pages with social media campaigns. We'll make sure that if you haven't seen it yet, the Wobbly Awards that we held a couple weeks ago, a ton of great examples of customers creating their own social media posts to drive traffic for value or trade here. And we have a ton of free examples that you can use in the knowledge base too. Earlier this year, we held a webinar on TikTok and getting started on TikTok. It was easily our most popular webinar of the year. That is also on our website and resources. It's in the knowledge base. You'll see links to all this stuff. If you're not experimenting with this, sit down with your team, figure out how you might approach it, touch up on some best practices here that are super easy to find, and give it a whirl. All right, another moment of sounding like a broken record is what used to be Google My Business, now Google Business Profile. They make it fairly straightforward, and we make it really easy to do, to add this thing down here that says, what's my car worth, or value my trade in, right? This call to action in your Google results and search results is going to result in essentially free leads, right? It takes all of 10 minutes to set up, and you're going to get an increase in lead volume as a result. Do this, please. Another great example of just best practices on lead generation using your service lane. So there's a ton of opportunities here. We've got templates here, a link to this template that you see here. We've got instructions on how to create QR codes. It's a really straightforward process. You can get those hang tags printed at Vistaprint for like 1,000 of them for like $100. It's a piece of cake. And we have dealers, customers every month who are sourcing 3 and 4 cars just from throwing these in a vehicle after the service is complete. Another topic here, learn how to build UTM codes. This is basically tracking information that you put to the end of your URLs. We then can report on that data in the TradePending app. You can see it in Google Analytics and in GA4 when that thing officially launches. It makes it really easy to see where people are taking action and how they're finding out about you. Is it Facebook? Is it those hang tags? Is it that service kiosk that you have, like where you can value your trade? It'll just open up your world in terms of visibility there. All right, being a digital person, as you can tell, because I'm wearing an orange jacket, I really like digital. We also do a lot of print at TradePending. We know our customers do a lot of print as well too. And the key message I like to convey here is eye-catching, attention-getting, bold, creative, and a very clear, concise message, right? You can be really successful with print, but if you try to cram too much on there, it's going to fail. All right, so you've got the leads. Now what do you do with them, right? Will again sound like a broken record. Read the lead. Like I'll show you some examples here to how to talk through this here in a moment. But yeah, if there's like the 1, 2, 3 ABC of this thing, read the lead, call, text, email, call, text, email, call, text, email. Essentially what that means is have it on a process. There's a lot of software solutions out there that do cadences, which basically means, yep, every time a lead comes in, they're assigned these 7 or 8 steps or 10 steps or whatever you define. And the salesperson can sit down and look at it and be like, okay, so today I have 40 people in step 1, I have 5 people in step 2, I have 30 people in step 3. It's a no-brainer. It makes follow-up really, really straightforward. So then what do I actually say? So when someone's trading, looking to trade in their vehicle or just getting a trade-in range on it, right? What they're expecting to hear is, hey, tell me about your trade-in. They're not expecting to like, hey, when can you bring it in? Hey, what car are you interested in, right? If they're thinking about it, there's some sort of reason, and it behooves you to understand what that reason is. That's just going to open up a whole world. That's just a much better conversation starter of, hey, why are you thinking you're trading this car in? Tell me about it, right? That just opens up people. It just makes them more open to talking, right? And so then you've also got to look at the report. So if you've read the lead, hopefully you've got some of this in mind already. But is the supply of vehicles in the area, is it going up? Is it going down? What's happening with demand? If supply is going down, that's a conversation around the effect of, hey, we're seeing fewer vehicles like this in the market. And if you look at the demand, it's actually in decent demand. We'd actually like to see this, right? This is interesting to us, and that's what the data is telling us, right? That's a really great conversation to have with somebody, right? There's a couple mantras in sales. ABC, and stop when you hear yes, right? So as soon as somebody agrees to the appointment, lock it down, confirm it, and move on. All right, so that was for the trade product. So moving on to payments, this is our payment calculator. The same approach applies, right? But in this case, when you're reading the lead, you're trying to figure out, hey, what's the right entry point for the consumer, or what entry point did the consumer take? Are they looking at a particular monthly payment range, or did they look at a vehicle to see what that payment was going to be on that? And then follow that approach. If you don't have an approach in place, reach out to me. We got all sorts of resources we can help you with that. But just having a really well-defined sales process approach makes a big, big difference. All right, so then the 2 threads here, shopping by payment. So that means the consumer has gone in and said, yeah, my estimated monthly payment, I want to be 350 to 400, right? That is a great conversation starter because now you are really armed to take a consultative approach. Hey, what are you looking for? What do you want? Most importantly, what do you need? Because that then allows you to steer them to the inventory that you have available that you know, A, is going to be helpful for them, and B, that probably you're looking to move as well too. The other approach is when they're shopping via vehicle, that means they have found their vehicle, they've hit calculate my payment, and they've gone through and said, yep, for this, based upon the amount I want to put down, here's your estimated monthly payment. So then this is going to really tee you up to have that conversation to set the appointment. Hey, it looks like we can accommodate everything you need here. Why don't you come in? Let's take a test drive. We've got some cheat sheets of all this stuff too. It's in the knowledge base. The link is there, and it just walks through all this in detail. So while I can spout stuff on this webinar all day, we have these resources available here as well too. And so it's in the knowledge base, support.tradepending.com. That previously mentioned TikTok webinar lives there. Lots of examples for emails that you can use live there as well too. And if you just go in and search for best practices, you're going to get a ton of stuff coming back to you there. All right. 16 minutes. We're doing all right here. If you don't have one yet, if you need your own trade pending mascot, the beloved semi-lovable wobbly bird, hit up that URL. We will mail you one so you can have for your office. I'm sorry to inform you though that we only have one orange jacket available. It's like when you win the Masters, you get the green jacket. When you do the webinars, you get the orange jacket. Thank you, everybody. Matthew Davis here with Trade Pending. We'll see you next time.